Hello everyone. So I'm very pleased today to welcome Caspar Herzberg, CEO of AVEVA, on stage to discuss the paradox and promise of industrial AI. So thank you, Caspar, for being here today. It means a lot.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, my absolute pleasure.
On industrial AI, in fact, there is still a kind of productivity paradox. By that, I mean that we heard a lot of business value proposition and promises, but the productivity gains are not always already here. There is a huge hype on AI and generative AI, but the concrete application, its limits, or the integration is not always well understood. So there is still some room for improvement, I would say, in industrial AI. So for you, my first question would be, we know that agentic AI and physical AI are two domains of interest and investment for next year. It's huge. So what practical implication do you think it will have on industries such as energy, manufacturing?
I think first of all, thank you for the question, and it is fantastic to be here in this beautiful place. To your question, the first thing to acknowledge is that the world of industry, for good reason, is a very conservative world when it comes to technology adoption, especially when it touches core production, operation, or design processes. So I think this is just the very first thing, right? And that a lot of what is theoretically and now also technically possible is not necessarily something that will happen simply because decision makers will not be comfortable with whatever risk, big or small, they see a new technology may pose to core businesses. Think a chemical plant, think a nuclear reactor, think, large complex installations. Now, having said that, you mentioned agentic AI, for example. There is a lot of augmentation. I think we've heard in the previous session and before, a lot of augmentation that happens with AI models that are able to access information, siloed information, and create insight for the operator. And if you do it right, it is at every level the same insight and the same clarity, right? From the XCOM level all the way down to the operator on the machine. And now with agentic AI, when you augment, it can give you dashboards independently. It can create dashboards. You can ask it to do that. These dashboards you can monitor. I think the lady said the human is always at the center. I think this is very true in industry. But there is significant benefit that you will get from the augmentation, from the expanded knowledge that the operator, the frontline operator, can have. And this we see, especially in the energy and chemicals industry. They usually have better data standards than many other industries. I mean, not to name and shame, but that is true. And they are hence able to work better with this new technology. Right? That's on the, I would say, on the generative and on the agentic AI side. Now, when it comes to physical AI, you mentioned that, I see massive change coming when it comes to the new robotic models, the new robotic capabilities that are being rolled out. We see that in China. We see how China is able to really take advantage of the combination of telemetry, of the combination of time series data, edge data, to develop and use robotic at scale in manufacturing, much more than we see it in the West. And if I can give you, before you ask on the future, a vision of where this is going, we've invested in a company in the Valley, in Silicon Valley, that is developing a Gen AI driven super brain, where you have about 400 robots that are currently training every day. About 200 of them are humanoids, and the other 200 are dogs. It's like a big house full of robots running around, and they learn during the day, and at night, each robot feeds what it has learned into this central brain that then in the next morning gives this learning, this information back to the individual robots that go out and continue their learning. It's pretty frightening, I have to tell you, when you see it. It's amazing in many ways because they learn not within a predefined environment like most other robots. They really just learn from how they get from their tasks every day. And clearly the application in oil and gas, in any type of industry that is that has somewhat haphazard environment is very, very big, as is clearly the application of this in the defense space. And that, I think, is probably what is going to change the world of warfare much more than drones that we see today. I just want to put that out there. So, back to you.
Thank you, Caspar. So, at AVEVA, you've been doing data and AI for decades now, and I was wondering how this new type of AI and generative AI is changing the thing, how it's embedded within your strategic roadmap. I mean, what has changed?
So, I mean, we do two things. We do similar tasks like what you've heard before in terms of optimizing the company itself on two different areas. One of them is we started like everyone else with coding. I mean, AVEVA is a software company, so we build software, right, all day long. We have thousands of engineers, developers. This is what they do. So, of course, we used GitHub and other tools to optimize and to accelerate the processes. I have to say that was not the big wow that I thought it was going to be. What we gained in the speed of developing, we then had to redo in testing. So that wasn't the initial wow was like a very small wow, I have to say, right? Now, what we then realized is that using it for siloed activities didn't really work. So we've rebuilt, if you like, our R&D function and really rolled out AI-driven knowledge management. We call it hyper-velocity engineering because it needs a good term. Yeah? But basically, we've rolled it out across everyone in R&D, not just the coders, and that is now getting more productivity than we had seen before. But frankly, it's not at the levels that we initially were hoping for. Having said that, and that also has to do, before you think that we don't do good software, it is because it is industrial software and the testing just has to be retested and retested and retested. So this is the reality there, right? On the knowledge management side, now one thing I've discovered is during my years as a worker and as a manager, is people love silos. Yeah, silos make people feel safe in companies. I mean, it's the same reason we build walls, around our properties, is because it makes you feel safe. And people do the same, and they do the same as a result of that with their data, because they will always optimize their silo, their data, their technology, right? Which is clearly a problem when you want to roll out AI at scale over an enterprise, because it often misses stuff. So building trust amongst the workforce that makes them much more willing to share their data is a core thing. And for us, it's knowledge management. I mean, we're a company that started with 3 fairly large software companies, right? Each one had like 2,000, 2,500 people, so we brought them together. So really, this human dimension of creating this trust that then allows us to take that data and really have knowledge management across the entire company, that was a big step forward in AVEVA itself. Okay? Now, I'll do it very fast. In terms of how we infuse our offers, we started on the operations side with augmentation, kind of what I described earlier. We have about 20 out of 100 solutions that we have about 20 now where we sell AI as part of the offer, right? It fundamentally acts as an advisor to the engineer. and it does do the dashboards, etc., that I have described. Very interesting feedback. Ask me about feedback later from our customers, and I will tell you what the feedback is. And secondly, we also do it on the design side, where we've been able to reduce the amount of time someone spends designing a complex asset. So think a chemical plant. What you really do as a designer, you know, on the CAD model, on the digital twin is, you do one tube, one tube, one tube, one tube, takes half an hour, right? Now, with the algorithms, we're able to do that based on both what is in the libraries of the design company, so like 40 years of experience, and also what is in the libraries of the EPC that implements it, that then shows you this is where it usually cracks, this is where you need field welding, and all of that the algorithm accesses, and it does what used to take half an hour in about half a minute. So the productivity that you gain on design is significant, right? And that means you can put out ships or plants in about half the time as you did before, and that's quite significant.
Yeah. Thank you, Caspar. Maybe one last question would be, well, you mentioned very relevant challenges for industrial firms to scale AI. But my question would be, how AVEVA is helping its customer? You know, what are the feedbacks that you get that say that you are helping them to overcome these challenges?
So, I mean, we've talked about the silos, the siloed data. This is well understood. It's difficult to solve, but well understood. Actually, one of my big lessons, talking about like when people actually work with your software that has AI, was and I think someone said that yesterday too, it's as important how you interact with the agent, how you interact with the model, what kind of questions you ask, how you ask the question, as it is interpreting the answer that it gives. If you simply ask a LLM, not to pick on them, but you know, how many pumps from GE do I have? It'll tell you 122. If you ask it again, it will tell you, it's 130. If you ask it again, it'll tell you, no, it's really just 100. So the knowledge of how to ask your question, how to move from deterministic to probabilistic questions, and how to train the engineer to ask these questions is as important, maybe even more important than getting the data right and, you know, knowing where you want to go. And that's one of the big lessons, because especially in the first phase, a lot of people get turned off. They ask the model something, it's wrong, they don't like the answer, they're like, I can't take this risk in industry, I don't want to work with it. And, you know, then you try again and you apply these lessons learned. That's it.
Thanks a lot, Caspar, for your insights. It was great, and thank you all for being here. Yeah.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.